San Francisco, the tech capital of the world, where dreams are coded in coffee shops and fortunes are built in startups. But behind the billion-dollar valuations and sky-high towers lies a brutal truth. You might need 6 figures just to survive here, literally survive. Forget luxury, we're talking rent, groceries, gas, and maybe a little peace of mind. So if you think moving to San Francisco is the path to prosperity, think again. This isn't just a city with high costs. This is a city where even doctors, engineers, and teachers are struggling to stay afloat. And the numbers? They'll leave you stunned. Welcome back to the channel, where we uncover the hard truths behind money, cities, and the shifting American dream. Today, we're heading into the heart of San Francisco, the city that once promised tech utopia and freedom. But in 2025, it's more like a battleground between what's possible and what's financially realistic. We'll cover what it actually costs to live a basic life in San Francisco, the shocking gap between income and affordability, why even high earners are fleeing, and whether the city's model is sustainable at all. This is the real cost of living in San Francisco, and trust me, it's worse than you think. Let's take a walk through the streets of San Francisco. Not the ones from postcards, not the filtered Instagram moments, but the real streets. The ones filled with Teslas and tents, towering condos and shuttered small businesses, 6-figure salaries and second jobs to make rent. Welcome to a city of contradictions, where wealth isn't rare, it's the requirement. San Francisco's story used to be about possibility. A gold rush town, the cradle of counterculture, the birthplace of startups that would shape the world. But now, in 2025, it's become something else. A case study in what happens when a city's cost of living spirals beyond the reach of its own people. Let's break this down. Not with opinion, but with hard numbers, stories from the ground, and a closer look at why living in San Francisco today is more expensive and more emotionally draining than almost anywhere in America. Imagine this. You're 28 years old, working a full-time job in product marketing at a startup, making a solid $110,000 a year. In most places in the US, that would mean a mortgage, a car, maybe some savings and a couple of vacations. In San Francisco, you're barely scraping by. Your rent? $3,400 a month for a 1-bedroom in Soma. That's $40,800 a year just to put a roof over your head. That's nearly 40% of your gross income, before taxes. Add in utilities, groceries, transit, insurance, student loans, and it becomes clear. You are technically upper middle class, but living paycheck to paycheck. Now multiply this across hundreds of thousands of people. Engineers, nurses, project managers, restaurant owners, all chasing the dream in a city where just living costs what thriving used to. Even the so-called affordable neighborhoods like Outer Mission, Bayview, or Excelsior are now creeping past $2,800 a month for basic 1-bedrooms. The housing ladder has no bottom rung. If you're not already on it, good luck. Now let's talk about home ownership. For many, buying a home is the American dream. In San Francisco, it's become a fantasy, unless you're sitting on generational wealth or a 7-figure tech exit. The median home price in San Francisco sits around $1.4 million, and that's if you're lucky. That doesn't buy you a mansion. It doesn't even buy you a house in the city's core. It gets you a 2-bedroom condo, possibly with no parking, and likely built in the 80s. Let's do the math. 20% down payment is $280,000. Monthly mortgage equals $6,000, not including taxes and insurance. Property taxes is $100 a month. HOA fees common in SF, $500-900 a month. Your total monthly outlay, over $8,000 a month. And that's if you qualify. Many banks require $250K, $300K in annual income and significant liquidity to approve these kinds of mortgages. You'd think such high costs would cool demand. But low housing supply and relentless investor interest keep the market artificially tight. Locals are priced out by VC-backed buyers and foreign capital treating SF property as a status symbol. In San Francisco, you're not just paying for rent. You're paying the San Francisco tax on life itself. Go out for a simple meal, a sandwich, a drink, and a side, and you're down $28. A grocery run? Easily $100, $150 per week for a single person. Parking? Often $8 an hour. An Uber across town? $25 plus. Daycare for your child? $2,000, $3,000 a month. Every single aspect of daily life is bloated. Why? Because everything is tied to that one unshakable pillar, rent. Restaurants pay high rent. They charge more. Childcare centers pay high rent. They raise tuition. Doctors' offices, gyms, salons, they all pass the cost on to you. It's a vicious systemic inflation, not driven by greed but by survival. And what happens when prices are this high? Consumption changes. People eat out less, tip less, cancel subscriptions. They become financially anxious, even if they're making good money. The psychological impact of constantly calculating whether you can afford dinner with friends is real. One of the most underreported costs of living in San Francisco isn't measured in dollars. It's measured in stress. Living here isn't just expensive, it's exhausting. There's a constant pressure to make it, to hustle, to work 60-hour weeks because everyone around you is. The lifestyle isn't designed for balance, it's designed for optimization. In 2025, a UCSF study found that 47% of young professionals in San Francisco experience clinical levels of burnout. The number one factor? Cost of living pressure. Here's what that looks like on the ground. Couples delaying children indefinitely, not because they don't want them, but because they literally cannot afford the space. Professionals skipping therapy, dental work, or vacations, despite earning six figures, because those things feel like luxuries. People commuting 2 hours each way from places like Tracy or Gilroy, just to earn a San Francisco wage while paying Central Valley rent. And then there's the loneliness. San Francisco, paradoxically, is also one of the loneliest cities in America. High transience, high turnover, long working hours, a culture that celebrates hustle more than community. It wears people down fast. One of the most shocking realities about San Francisco is how clearly you can see the wealth divide. Walk 5 blocks in Soma and you might pass a multi-million-dollar startup incubator, a row of luxury condos with valet service, 3 tents on the sidewalk, a family of 5 living in an RV, a VC sipping a $12 latte while FaceTiming their architect in Jackson Hole. It's not just jarring, it's dystopian. San Francisco is a city built around a thriving tech economy, but that economy doesn't include everyone. Teachers, EMTs, social workers, they're the backbone of the city, but many of them can't afford to live within 45 miles of the jobs they perform. Some sleep in their cars, others take night shifts because it's the only way to get by. Meanwhile, corporations pay record-low city taxes while buying up entire blocks for office space and branded cafes. It's capitalism on steroids, optimized for the few, not the many. Is anything being done? Yes and no. There have been pushes for affordable housing, but red tape, NIMBYism, and slow-moving legislation make progress agonizingly slow. The city approves far fewer housing units than it needs to meet population demands. And many proposed projects are blocked by zoning laws or resident pushback, ironically by some of the same people who complain about the cost of living. The tech industry has tried to step in. Companies like Google and Salesforce have pledged millions toward housing initiatives. But many say that's just window dressing, a drop in the bucket compared to the scale of the crisis. Some startups are experimenting with remote-first offices and pay geo-adjusted salaries, but that only works for jobs that can be done remotely. The people who keep the city running, cleaners, chefs, delivery workers, firefighters, don't have that luxury. And so the system spins on. The clearest verdict on San Francisco's affordability? People are leaving, in droves. Between 2020 and 2024, more than 150,000 residents left the Bay Area, many of them permanently. A LinkedIn analysis showed that tech workers were the largest demographic to flee, heading to cities like Austin, Miami, Denver, Portland, even smaller towns in Arizona, Idaho, and North Carolina. Why? Because they can get the same job, or at least a remote version of it, for a fraction of the cost, and often a better quality of life. The city is trying to adapt, but the question remains, is it too late? Once people discover they can thrive elsewhere, own homes, start families, build savings, why would they return to a place that drained them? The bigger question, is San Francisco the canary in the coal mine? San Francisco is unique, but it's also a preview. Other cities, New York, Los Angeles, Seattle, Boston, are all facing versions of this same crisis. Housing shortages, wage stagnation, inequality. The question is no longer just about San Francisco. It's about whether modern American cities can remain livable for anyone but the wealthy. The story of San Francisco is no longer just about startups and sky-high rents. It's a window into a future that's coming from more and more places. A future where survival becomes the new luxury. So what if you still want to live in San Francisco? Here are a few real strategies. Many younger residents live in intentional communities with 4 to 6 roommates. It's not glamorous, but it's the only affordable way in. Oakland, Berkeley, or even Daly City offer slightly more affordable options with transit access, though prices are rising fast. Renters now have slightly more leverage post-COVID. Always negotiate, especially if you're renewing. If your employer is based in San Francisco but allows remote work, live farther out and come in only when necessary. Some live in Sacramento and commute in twice a week. Cut unnecessary expenses. Opt out of the brunch and boba culture. Buy used. Limit car ownership. Every dollar counts. But here's the hard truth. Even with all of these tactics, the city simply isn't financially sustainable for the average worker anymore. A new report from last month, from the Bay Area Council, shows over 60% of Gen Z and millennials in SF plan to leave within 3 years. Median rent for a one-bedroom rises to $3,850 a month, up 6% year-over-year, despite a slowing national market. UCSF reports that mental health and burnout levels among young professionals in SF are at an all-time high, directly tied to cost of living stress. San Francisco was once the epicenter of counterculture, innovation, and dreams. It gave us Apple, Twitter, Airbnb, and the idea that you could build the future with nothing but a laptop and ambition. But that dream has a price tag now, a steep one, and for many, that price is no longer worth paying. The city still has its beauty, its foggy mornings, its Golden Gate Bridge sunsets, its food, its energy. But it also has a crisis. Not just of housing or economics, but of values. Who gets to live here? Who is this city for? And what does it mean when even the best and brightest can't afford a simple life in the heart of the American tech empire? That's the question we all have to ask. Because if San Francisco is the future, we better hope the rest of the country finds another path. Thank you so much for spending your time with me today. I really appreciate you watching. If you found this useful, a like would be fantastic, and subscribing helps me keep creating content you'll hopefully enjoy. Please share your experiences and any questions in the comments. I always try to read and respond. Your support keeps this channel going. Until our next video, take care and have a wonderful day.